Yeah, we got like 50 people live viewing. No. Yeah, we got like 50 people live viewing. No. Yeah, we got like 50 people live.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the 2022 Abbotsford Virtual Airshow presented to you by VATSIM, VATCAN, and the Vancouver FIR. My name is Josh Jenk. I will be your host today. I'm joined by my good friend Jerome, who will be on the announcer podium with me.
Good evening, everyone. I am pleasure to be your host tonight. Today we will be opening up with the Eurofighter Typhoon, who's currently ready on the runway to start the show.
A couple quick public safety announcements before we get going here. Remind you to read the spectator briefing if you have not already, and to follow all ATC instructions throughout the event. We hope that this will be enjoyable for everyone. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the Abbotsford Virtual Airshow. Ladies and gentlemen, watch as the Eurofighter Typhoon demonstrates his extreme thrust-to-weight ratios and high angle of attack. He'll push the VATSIM velocity servers to their extreme as he executes a series of loops, rolls, twists, and turns throughout his performance.
Runway 0.
Tonight during the show, the Eurofighter Typhoon will open up with the inverted loop as you're seeing right now. From the loop, he will be continuing into an inverted S to show the extreme agility this Eurofighter has to offer. Today we're flying with a Block 4 sector aircraft with more than 2,000 thrust per engine.
Ladies and gentlemen, watch now as the Typhoon executes a minimum radius turn. The Eurofighter Typhoon was initially designed as an air superiority aircraft to combat Russian aircraft during the Cold War. However, with the end of the Cold War, the Eurofighter Typhoon has successfully evolved into a multi-role aircraft. Carries both the AMRAAM and the ASRAAM, as well as multiple hardpoints such as the Payboy 2 and Payboy 4 bombs. It also carries an internal 27mm Mauser cannon.
Due to this, it's perfectly able to help with close air support, but also during bombing runs and any other usage for the Royal Air Force. But today, They're here just for you to show you what the plane can do.
Ladies and gents, there's a small issue here. Looks like our Typhoon has dropped out. Just stand by. We will be back with you shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, our Typhoon pilot unfortunately had a sync crash. Stand by and we'll be just restarting the demo here shortly. I did say he'd be pushing the Batson velocity service to the limit, didn't I? Well, while we're waiting, folks, we get to introduce a little bit about the Royal Air Force. The Royal Air Force was founded about 15 years ago, one of the oldest VSOAs on the network. The VRAF simulates the Royal Air Force's domestic and global operations on the Batson network. They operate a wide range of frontline and support aircraft over multiple simulator platforms, providing an opportunity for everyone. Obviously, their primary flying is out in the UK, but we appreciate their support of the Airshow. It's really incredible what these folks do. These SLAs will be bringing their aircraft from across the Atlantic, and as you'll see later, some of these guys have brought it all the way across the Pacific to fly it out here for you. Alright folks, looks like our Eurofighter is back in the cockpit here. We should be going shortly. We'll be restarting the demo here, so stay tuned.
And as you can see, the Eurofighter is currently moving back to the runway to restart their display. With the 22,000 pounds of thrust, unfortunately currently he's only staying at a couple thousand feet, but in this theoretical program he would be able to get to Mach 1.5 at an altitude of 35,000 feet with a vertical climb in less than 2.5 minutes. So in the time it takes you to start your instrument departure, he's probably already at 35,000 feet.
This optimizes the Typhoon for its role in the Royal Air Force, primary role in the Royal Air Force currently, where it operates as a quick reaction aircraft. So that means scrambling to intercept any possible air threats to UK and EU airspace.
As you can see, with the vertical climb, he can also immediately go into a loop as seen here. With the short takeoff roll, he can immediately rotate, go into the climb, and then continue into the inverted S, which is a standard dogfighting maneuver used back in training and possibly and during the Cold War.
So while afterburners are not simulated quite perfectly over VATSIM, you get an idea of the pure raw performance of this aircraft as you'll come around for the minimum radius term. Eurofighter, let's talk a little bit about its history. Aircraft actually began its development back in 1983, so that is, if my math is correct, correct me on this if it's not, but almost 41 years ago. It had its maiden flight about 10 years later on March 27th, 1994, and entered operational service just about, oh man, math is hard, 7 years later in 2003. Sorry, 9 years later. Yeah, I'm all over the place today. 9 years later in 2003. Anyways, it is now in service with the air forces of Austria, Italy, Germany, and the UK, including Spain, Saudi Arabia, and Oman. Wow, that's quite a list. Kuwait and Qatar have also ordered the aircraft, and that brings the total procurement to 623 aircraft as of 2019.
And as the Typhoon was originally a European project, it was not processed by the likes of Lockheed Martin and the other programs we all know. It was developed as a consortium between Airbus and the British Aerospace Engineering System as a proper joint European project, and that's why it's also in use in many European countries. And with the low pass over the runway, you can see the immeasurable speed this plane can achieve in just a short time with a vertical pull away going out, so he does not irritate our neighbors as much, but as you know, they probably has the best seat for the show today.
Indeed, I would kill for a seat like that out that air show. The noise would be incredible in real life. The noise of the two EJ200 engines, as John already mentioned. 20,000 pounds of thrust per engine. Scott Daniels will now be setting up for a dirty pass. Watch for the gear to come down. And after the dirty pass, he will accelerate into a loop. That's an incredibly hard maneuver for any aircraft that doesn't have the incredible AOA that the Typhoon has. Look at that incredible AOA, folks. It's achieved by the canards, increasing the stability. The computer-controlled system on the Typhoon also allows for the canards to be deflected to allow for maximum stealth. Now watch as Scott Daniels increases the power on the engines and goes into a muscle climb and into a loop. You thought that was cool? Well, we got something coming for you. Here comes man, I can't speak. System. System? That's the word I'm looking for. A system of twists and turns. We'll execute
again,
3 loops with rolls.
Excuse me just for interrupting, but as I wanted to say, all of this is to show the incredible agility which is needed when reacting in the UK or European airspace of any unidentified aircraft during the quick reaction air response that we talked about earlier.
Let me tell you, you can never have too many loops, especially with the Eurofighter Typhoon. Just, it blows me away still that AOA is achievable with an aircraft like this. Even with the speed brakes out, he is still able to execute these incredible loops and rolls.
And remember, during this loop-the-loop, every single time during an entry, it will be at least 3 or 4 Gs. So that's about 3 or 4 times the weight pushed right into your seat. During the max possible turns we're seeing today, they're pulling up to 7 Gs, which is why in real life our Eurofighter pilots train with special maneuvers and even special pants to make sure blood stays in their system where it should be, because you might be able to know, if you're not able to see right, that could be an issue flying at 200 or 300 miles an hour, even low to the ground.
Watch the vertical climb as he goes and executes a series of rolls. What a fantastic performance by Scott Daniels. That is incredible, folks. That will conclude the Eurofighter Typhoon demo today. We'll now watch as he quickly descends and comes in for a landing, and we will be on very shortly with our next performance.
There's a moment in your bones when the fire takes over. Blood is running, heart is pumping as the battle gets closer. They can say what they want now, 'cause we'll be screaming now. We can be heroes everywhere we go. We can have all that we ever want. Swinging like Ali, rocking out bodies, standing on top like a
Folks, let's not forget the incredible camera crew today. We have a helicopter camera going, multiple ground cameras going, as well as a chase camera. This is all to provide you with the best possible viewing experience, and so far, they are doing an awesome job.
And now with Eurofighter coming in for the landing, we will be preparing for the C-17, who is already at the start of the runway.
For the folks on stream, not to worry, he does have his gear down with like a little quirk with the model matching there, but there he goes.
Now we're ready for the Globemaster, one of the biggest planes in the world, also operated by the Royal Air Force. But today he will be showing what even such a big plane can do for us. So Josh, if you could help me with the call out, what are the type, or correction, what is the C-17 doing for us tonight?
Yeah, for sure. So C-17 today, piloted by Joshua Seagrave, again, of the Virtual Royal Air Force. So we're looking at maximum performance takeoffs, short takeoff and landing capabilities, high-speed passes, high angle of attack, low-speed passes, minimum performance climbouts. Just quite a fantastic performance coming up here. You won't want to miss this one.
So with the C-17 entering the runway, we are preparing for the maximum performance takeoff. As some of you might know, the C-17 with its 4 engines will be able to do a roll that won't even take up a whole runway. And as such, we will be able to see the incredible performance all these 4 engines give us tonight.
And folks, at fully loaded capacity, to give you an idea, the C-17 can take off and land on runways as short as 3,500 feet. Won't even use up a third of the runway here at Abbotsford today. Such a big plane, this is really quite incredible. And for folks on the stream, we do have a small issue. The stream has crashed currently. We will be keeping you updated with that. For the folks on the ground at that 7, the show continues.
So unfortunately, everyone, we're going to be holding the show slightly, and we will be continuing as soon as possible.
Every single day I feel that gold underneath. I see the locked doors, but I got the key. I'ma give you a second just to catch your breath, cause I can see that your heart is jumping out your chest. I know you gave it all, cause I've already seen your best, and it's time you accepted this. Gladiator, 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 pick to fight with the gods. I'm the giant slayer, bone shaker, dominator, freight train wrecking ball. I'm the gladiator.
Folks, don't worry, we are just about ready to get going again here. Thanks to the incredible work by our camera crew. Small hiccups like this bound to happen in every event, but we do our best to keep things moving. Looks like I think we're back now. Folks, again, we appreciate your patience. We are very close to getting ready to go here with the C-17.
And the great thing about the C-17, when used for their regular transport role instead of the incredible performance they will be putting on today, regularly they will be able to take 77,000 kilograms of pallets, which means that all your toilet paper will be able to be shipped even when the stores are out.
That's one way of looking at it.
That's for sure. And I hope every single person in the military who's had food, messages, and everything from their loved ones delivered with one of these Globe Masters must appreciate their work.
Indeed, the Globe Master is used all over the world, multiple air forces. These include the United States Air Force, the Canadian Air Force, the Australian Air Force, obviously the United Kingdom Royal Air Force, the United Arab Emirates, as well as a few others such as India. And yeah, I believe that's the list there. Current operators.
And the interesting thing about the C-17 is that it isn't only operated by these military operators. We even have Qatar Airways flying it privately, which is very interesting because they, as far as I know, don't have a private military.
That's what they probably want you to think, at least.
That's for sure, Josh. That's all right for sure.
trying to smoke with the yak in your mouth. And we back outside. You said you outside, but you ain't that outside.
And the C-17 has played multiple key logistical roles throughout multiple wars, including Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan and Operation Iraqi Freedom in Iraq. It continues to provide various humanitarian aid around the world, including multiple evacuations and relief humanitarian aid, such as the 2010 Haiti earthquake and the 2011 floods.
And we are back up in the air with the max performance takeoff going into a roll to show what is possible with even the shortest of runways. So we're configuring for a high-speed pass right now in a cruise configuration, which means you will be completely cleaned up and achieve a speed of up to 250 knots.
Often the C-17 will cruise at speeds of around 450 knots at Mach 0.74.
And the interesting thing here, Josh, is the fact that the amount of thrust provided by this aircraft is just about 40,000 pounds per engine, which means that with 160,000 pounds in total, it would probably be able to accelerate your teeny Cessna or whatever right past its maximum speed. Because if a 100,000 kilogram empty weight aircraft is able to cruise at 450 knots, I would not even want to imagine what it's able to do to my 1,000 kilogram Cessna.
Yeah, that would be a bad day for sure, to say the least. Although a pretty cool day, I do have to admit.
It'd be one hell of a way to go out, Josh, that's for sure.
Anyways, that was the high-speed pass there. We're now looking to transition into the high angle of bank turn, and then he'll reconfigure for a low-speed pass at 160 knots in the landing configuration. Watch as Joshua Seagrave turns his aircraft to almost 60 degrees of bank, while still climbing, mind you. As the gear comes down, he is now setting up for his low-speed pass. Look for the gear and the flaps to be fully extended. While he sets up for that, let's talk about the capacity of the C-17. We already mentioned the weight, but just to give you an idea of how much that really is, that's about 102 paratroopers it can carry at once, or 134 troops, or 36 litters and 54 ambulatory patients and medical attendants, or various cargo such as one M1 Abrams tank, 2 Bradley armored vehicles, or 3 Stryker armored vehicles. To top that all off, it has an incredible range of 2,420 nautical miles with the maximum payload of 157,000 pounds. And Jerome, I know we said that 300 people is technically the maximum capacity, but that's when you have seats. You know, take a guess. What do you think the maximum capacity of a C-17 is without seats?
I've heard stories and I've seen pictures. I think there's up to 800 people transported in this airplane before. Or am I guessing a bit high right now?
Honestly, no, in fact, you may be guessing low. The C-17 out of Kabul in August 15th, 2021 carried an approximate 823 passengers, although the number could have been higher as it didn't account for necessarily all lap children.
That's for sure, because whenever the US Air Force decides to transport people, they probably are able to fit in more than with our Royal Air Force, because remember, the Royal Air Force has to take at least 10% of the max takeoff weight in T. Don't think their paratroopers probably wouldn't be able to enjoy it.
Yeah. Yep. So after that maximum performance climb out, Joshua Seagrave is now going to set up for his tactical landing, the maximum rate of descent. Watch for, although it may not come through in VATSIM with this model matching, unfortunately, you'll be extending the speed brakes and putting up the thrust reversers while in the air. Combat descent to stop in the minimum distance.
And all of this is, of course, applied in combat areas when flying into forward operating bases operated by relevant military areas in the area to evade radar detection and evade any possible detection by enemy forces on the ground. I'm seeing all the screenshots roll in of everyone in the area looking at all the planes that are parked right here, loving the pictures, and hope more will roll in with the rest of the night.
I see a Twitch chat there. Looks like we had someone actually fly on a C-17 back in 2006. That is a awesome experience. I would love to do that at some point. Another Twitch chat there. Looks like someone rode with your dad with the door down on the C-17 in 2014. That has got to be just about the coolest funny with any parent ever, I think.
That's one hell of a bring your child to work day, though. That's something I gotta admit.
Joshua Seagrave banks in for his combat descent. Keep an eye on the runway. And we'll count the stripes here. See how soon you stop. Look at that incredible rate of descent.
And I've heard stories from other members of the armed forces saying that there used to be challenges at the forward operating bases to see who was able to come in the quietest Because as you may know, the point of this approach, as I said before, is to evade any detection. And the best people to check that are the ones that will roast you after your landing.
Of course, who else?
And with the Globemaster leveling out right now for the approach, he will touch down right at the beginning of the runway, even before the regular touchdown area. So he is able to slow down even after this, just after the second 1,000-foot markers.
I count a full stop in under 1,600 feet there. That is incredible. Very well flown to Joshua Seagrave. And as a reminder, folks, these pilots are highly trained members of virtual special operations organizations. This is exactly what they train for. This really prepares pilots very well for combat missions as well as other humanitarian missions around the globe. Well, folks, we'd like to thank Joshua Seagrave and again the Virtual Royal Air Force for their support of the performance today, or the air show today. What an incredible performance. All right, folks, as our C-17 exits the runway now and taxis back into parking, we have another very fascinating aircraft coming up. This is a staple at air shows around the world, and the Extra 300. The Extra 300 today is piloted by Anthony Spinell. We would like to thank him for stepping in rather last minute to fill in a spot. For anyone looking at the schedule, unfortunately our P-51 demo pilot could not be here today. So again, huge shout out to Anthony for making this routine possible.
And the great thing about the Extra 300 is its incredible performance, because with a stall speed of only 60 knots and an average speed of over 200 knots, it is able to fly at incredibly different speeds and take a G limit of plus and negative 10 Gs. This means it can do pretty much any acrobatic maneuver you can think of, and it can probably take more Gs than you. I haven't never tested it myself, but I know the average human goes at around 5 to 6 Gs, which means this plane would be able to go twice as far before the pilot has probably already been out for at least 5 minutes. So with the Extra rolling right now, it's ready for the takeoff, from where it will immediately go into its staple performance seen all around the world.
Folks, with this incredible aircraft, honestly, we just better let the aircraft do the talking. It is going to be one heck of a show.
They can say what they want now, 'cause we'll be screaming now. We can be heroes everywhere we go. We can have all that we ever want. Swinging like Ali, knocking out bodies, standing on top like a champion. Keep your silver, give me that gold. You remember We can be heroes everywhere we go. We can have all that we ever want.
So the Extra 300 you're seeing today is made of a welded steel tube fuselage and covered in aluminum fabric. The actual Extra 300 was based on the Extra 230, which was a 1980s monoplane and made out of wood. Can you imagine that?
Josh, sorry to interrupt you right now, because as you can see, it's currently coming over at one of the highest possible speeds, able to low over the runway with barely any margin to spare.
I think I clocked him there, going close to 170 knots in a piston engine aircraft. That is nuts.
And as the Extra 300 is regularly shipped with the Lycoming IO 580 engine, it's a 6-cylinder, a horizontally opposed injected engine, which puts out just about 300 horsepower at 2500 RPM. This means that 300 horsepower at a max takeoff weight of 800 means it has a thrust to weight ratio of about 1/3 a horsepower per kilogram.
Folks, the airplane being so small, MSFS sometimes has little problems grabbing onto an aircraft that size, but bear with us and we'll have him coming down the runway again shortly.
Because remember, with an airplane traveling at 170 knots, you can imagine it's going to be hella difficult to find it in the air when it's only about 20 meters long. Or 20 meters, excuse me, that's way overdone. It's got a length of 7 meters by a wingspan of 8 meters, which is 26 feet. You would be able to fit around 5 people in the wingspan of such a small plane. And for the people watching the Airshow live on VATSIM, you can see the helicopters in the air right now as well. They are operated by our incredible media team, which are currently operating the aircraft and as such also keeping the shot. Because as you can imagine, flying a giant helicopter, it is a bit difficult sometimes to operate the camera perfectly.
Look at that, his maneuver is just way too snappy, even for VATSIM velocity. That is insane. Well, Jerome, I got another quiz for you here. What do you think the extra 300th roll rate is?
The roll rate of an extra 300, I'm gonna guess it at around 10 degrees a second. That sounds about right if you pull it fully right.
I got bad news for you. It's close to 400 degrees per second. That's almost double the Eurofighter Typhoon, which we saw, which had the incredible snappy roll.
So with a snap roll 400 degrees a second, it could do a full roll in only a second if it wouldn't be overstressed. Is that correct?
That is indeed correct. Less than a second.
Wow. It's amazing what we are able to do with our advanced construction materials and a big engine.
Can't argue with that. Wow, and I just saw the Twitch chat here from a viewer a little while ago, going a little ways back, backtracking to the C-17, but someone sitting in the C-17 that carried the 800 civilians. That must have been quite incredible. Looks like there's a picture there too. Too bad we can't put that up on stream, but that's awesome, man. Here comes Anthony for another pass in his extra.
So, Josh,
my apologies.
You're probably going to correct yourself already. The extra's coming in for the full stop, which is difficult even after such an incredible aerobatic competition. It is still a tail dragger, and as my personal experience goes, tail draggers, they're an experience to land, that's for sure.
You better believe it. The ground loop, especially on an extra 300, is really quite incredible. And a lot of sims, or even in real life, they have that extra bouncy gear. And it creates an additional challenge on landing, but it looks like Anthony has nailed his landing and will be exiting the runway here shortly. And another incredible performance. And folks, after Anthony exits here, we are going to be cutting to a very short performance. Intermission, my bad. We're going to be cutting to a very short intermission, but don't go anywhere. We're going to be interviewing a couple very special guests.
So Josh, are you able to give us a slight preview on who we will be interviewing today?
You better believe it. Our first interviewee is going to be Scott Daniels from the Virtual Rail Air Force. He was the pilot, to remind you, of the Typhoon. He should have some interesting insights on how his performance went and what he thinks of the show so far. We'll be cutting to that in just a minute, so stick tight.
Outside, I never give in to my fears, people think cause I heard my voice inside. I know I was born for this. I know I was born for this. I will never lose my voice if I cut out all the noise. I know.
Getting some really cool shots there while we wait from our helicam camera crew. Those planes that you see there on the north end of the runway are our performers. Thanks to them for sticking around. And we do have a few statics as well, apart from the south end of the runway. But, we'll have to see those in the next pass. And as you can see, also the the viewers. Thanks to those for connecting. We do have some more people, I think, connected as observers as well, so they don't show up. But yeah, thanks to everyone so far today who's come out. Again, we will be back very shortly here with an interview, a couple interviews, and then we will be back to performances again. All right, it looks like Scott Daniels is already here. Let's invite him up to the stage.
Right, everyone, welcome Scott Daniels today. I will let Josh lead the interview. Thanks for coming with us, and I hope you'll have something great to say.
Hello there, yeah, good to be here, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. That was an incredible performance with the Eurofighter Typhoon. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? How long have you been doing flight sims for?
Oh, so myself, I've been doing flight simming since probably around about 2010, so quite a few years now. We took over, myself and another person took over VRAF in around about 2012, I believe it was, and we've sort of grown it from there.
That is awesome, which kind of leads me on to my next question. How did you kind of get started with the VRAF?
So we started it off with a couple of friends, and obviously it's just sort of grown from there. They left over time. We've had very lot of different people in and out throughout the time we've been doing it, but we've sort of grown in strength from very start and things, and now we're stronger than ever.
That is awesome. So on your performance today, how long did that really take to prepare for? That was really quite incredible. So I imagine it took a while.
Yeah, so generally that Typhoon display I've been working up for probably about 2 months now. So that is actually derived off of the 2018 Typhoon display. So we've sort of just taken it, adapted it, and used it within the sim.
That is really incredible that you guys are able to do that. What sim, by the way, were you flying in today?
Say again, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Just curious, what sim were you flying in today?
I'm within P3D V5 at the moment. We use the Typhoon for V5, but we do operate all different simulators. So we operate all the FSX, all the P3Ds, X-Plane, MSFS. We can operate with all of them. Different aircraft, obviously, have different capabilities within different sims.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. So let's just say you have someone in the audience today who has been super inspired by the VRAF's performance so far, and they're interested in joining you guys, maybe doing a little bit more of your regular day-to-day operations. Where can they go to find more information?
Yep, so our website, it's vraf.net. We currently are recruiting for all roles. So VRAF is split up into 2 different groups. So one group is mainly all of your fighter squadrons. They basically are all your fighter jets, some of your helicopters and things like that. So on that you can learn how to fly a fighter jet within the UK airspace. UK airspace, very complex. In a very tight space, we've crammed a lot in, so it's quite high workload. So we use all the proper danger areas, everything like that. Then we move on to 2 group. That's the Air Mobility Command. They move goods about the world. They basically have a tasking system within the website where we can put taskings in to transport all sorts of goods. So GSE, flange wheels, generally ASRAMs, missiles, you name it, we transport it.
That is awesome. Well, before I let you go here, I got to ask you one fun question. Let's just say you had no budget, no limits on money or anything like that. If you could own any one aircraft, what would it be?
Sorry, say that again.
Yeah, if you could own any one aircraft in the world with no limitations on money or anything like that, what would it be? Just a fun question to close us out here.
Oh, that's a good one. I've always liked the RAF Hawks. They're just such good fun. Looked such good fun to be able to fly in. Yeah, probably an RAF Hawk for me.
That's awesome. Well, thank you again, Scott Daniels from the Virtual Rail Air Force. Check them out at vraf.net for more information. Thank you, Scott, and we hope to see you back again for next year's performance.
Thank you, and hope to be back again, yeah.
All right, folks, we will be moving on. It doesn't look like our other interviewee is here quite yet. But we'll see if they join, and if not, we'll move on to our next performance. So our next performance, if you look at the schedules in the Meet the Performers channel on Discord, or if you use the command !schedule on the Twitch chat, you can see we're going to be moving on to the VRAF's Chinook display, this HC6 as the variant is called in the UK. So stay tuned, and we will be back very shortly. And for the folks watching live on VATSIM, don't forget to be posting your screenshots of the event to our screenshots channel. We love to see them come in. There's been some really incredible ones in there so far. Well, folks, a little bit of a hiccup there with the command, but I guess the bot isn't quite working for whatever reason, so I'll just post the link here for you guys, for anyone looking for the schedule. Alright folks, so just a quick update from the interview side. We're going to be interviewing Virtual Air Marshal Xavier Gibbons after his performance. Not now, he's currently doing a briefing, so we don't want to interrupt. We want, obviously, the New Zealand guys to put on their best performance, but that'll be coming up in a little bit. The Chinook should be taxiing out very shortly, so stay tuned for that.
Sweat, I'll break my bones till all my scars bleed golden. My name's forever known. Blood, sweat, I'll break my bones till all my scars bleed golden. My name's forever known. Blood, sweat, I'll break my bones till all my scars bleed golden.
Folks, again, we can't do this without the incredible ATC support from the Vancouver FIR and the controllers working tirelessly there. They're doing a fantastic job. We applaud them. Okay, folks, thanks for sticking with us. Intermission is over now, and we are moving on to our final VRAF performance of the day, although not the final Airshow performance of the day. As you can tell, this is the Chinook. In the US, that's often referred to as the CH-47. However, the RAF actually has a different designation for it. It's the H-46. Correction, my bad. It's the HC-6, my bad. The Chinook is probably the most recognizable tandem rotor helicopter in the world, I would say. Currently, the RAF operates 60 Chinooks in active inventory as of 2015. And the Chinook is also expected to remain in RAF service until approximately 2040. So quite the lifespan on these aircraft.
But then again, why would you fix something that isn't broken, Josh? Let's be honest.
You got a great point. So we've seen big, we've seen fast, we've seen quick. Now we get to see a little bit of what makes helicopters so unique. Nothing quite like it. Alright folks, so just to give you a little heads up as to what you can expect to see when the helicopter takes off in the horizontal speed axis, it'll accelerate to 120 knots at 100 feet, then execute a 50-degree nose over. Just 100 feet in a fixed-wing aircraft, that would be almost deadly. However, of course, this is not any ordinary aircraft, this is the Chinook. Gotta love model matching, folks. We'll pretend that they keep opening and closing the door. It's a cool effect, isn't it?
That's for sure, Josh. But again, we're on a system where everything's working by a hair, and we're glad the Veloster servers are keeping up and showing us even better than last year.
Indeed.
And interesting how we were just talking about the short takeoff and landing capability that the C-17 had. But if you were able to see right now, it's a helicopter. It goes straight up. We don't see a problem here, ladies and gentlemen, because as you can see, with the helicopter, it can go anywhere, and that's also what the Chinooks are used for in the Royal Air Force.
Believe it or not, the C-17 wasn't the only military aircraft today that actually has a civilian variant. The CH-47 Chinook has multiple civilian variants and is operated around the world.
So
primarily for cargo and transport, of course.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to ask, Josh. If it's a civilian variant of the Chinook, what is it used for? Are we aware of any private operators?
Yeah, so Coulson Aviation actually uses it in Canada, and the Model 243 long range can be fitted out actually as an all-passenger, all-cargo, or a mix of the two.
That's awesome, and it does seem like Canada is the perfect place to operate this aircraft.
You better believe it. And look at that nose up. 45 degrees up. Watch for the pedal turn here. As the Chinook comes down to the crowd line, from the crowd left, watch for the roller coaster. This is going to involve two 50-degree nose overs. My apologies, I'm a little ahead of myself. There is the 45-degree pitch up and the left pedal turn. Coming up next, we've got the roller coaster. Oh man, I would not be wanting to stand in the door of that helicopter there. Whoever our sorry, my apologies. Go ahead, John.
Yes, excuse me, Josh, but what the interesting thing is today, of course, on the network, Tom Keithley is flying the Chinook himself. But in the real-life application of this aircraft, it's a 3 to 4 crew flight, with a captain and co-pilot flying, as we're all used to, but also, depending on the way the aircraft is fitted, 1 or even 2 load or jump masters, because this aircraft can be used for cargo, passenger, and paratrooper transport. To continue, Josh.
Yeah, no problem. I was just going to mention how I would not want to be one of those crew members on that helicopter. Just watch for these 2 50-degree pitch down. Oh man, that makes me sick just almost looking at it.
And remember, we're currently talking about a helicopter. That's why all these maneuvers can be done so close to the ground. In a regular airplane, all these maneuvers would have to be done about 1,000 feet higher just to arrest the descent. But that's the magic about helicopters, isn't it?
It really is. Although helicopter pilots are something else. If something goes wrong, they gotta react right away, especially at altitudes like that. So hats off to any of the helicopter pilots up there. Really incredible what you guys can do. Now folks, the next maneuver coming up is going to be a 360-degree turn. What's even more fascinating about the Chinook is it doesn't have a tail rotor to control the yaw like most helicopters. Instead, it uses the tandem blades to control the yaw, which is really quite interesting and a marvel of engineering, if I may say so.
Marvel of engineering must be the right word, Josh, because the operators at Boeing must have put many man-hours into creating this magnificent piece of kit.
You know, that song reminds me, it would have been really cool to see some Chinooks in Top Gun. Too bad the Navy doesn't operate them, eh?
That's for sure, Josh. It would have been a great piece of kit added to that wonderful movie.
Look at the authority on that helicopter. Folks, as he comes into a hover, this is one of the hardest maneuvers for any helicopter pilot. Coming to a full stop in the air is just insane to think about that it's even possible. Now, folks, as he's going to come along with wing over and running along the crowd line. Correction. He's going to move down the right. Look out the back door for the crewman waving. Perfect opportunity for a screenshot.
That's for sure, Josh. And just as I wanted to say about the UK variant of the Chinook, it's interesting that even today that they have been brought to Canada, but that has not been the furthest that the Chinooks have gone from the homeland. Because these these aircraft have been used all over the world by the Royal Air Force, from Kosovo in Europe to Sierra Leone and Mali in Africa, but even in the Falklands.
That is incredible. That's, yeah, to get an aircraft down that far, especially a helicopter, is really insane. Just goes to show you the support capabilities of the Royal Air Force in addition to the capabilities of the individual military aircraft themselves.
And for the people interested, a flight from Britain to the Falkland Islands via the United States, because obviously it does not have the range to fly all the way over the ocean in one attempt. And that means it's at least a 10,000 statute mile flight with its top speed of 159 knots. Means that that would be at least 100 hours flown by the crew that brought it over there.
That's incredible. I hate to burst the bubble, but it was brought over on a cargo ship, which again goes beyond the. Yeah, no, that's still awesome. I'm sure it has been flown to tons of places around the world. These aircraft are some of the most reliable in the Air Force's inventory, and of course fly a number of hours.
And we all got to remember, all of these pilots are trained to the top of their level, which means that they are able to perform these maneuvers, but also operate wherever needed to transport cargo, troops, or other equipment. So Josh, can you tell us more about what we're seeing right now?
You betcha. So it looks like the Chinook is going to be coming in for a 60-knot landing at Crowd Center soon. Should be interesting. And then he will keep the nose high, reverse down the runway, and then lift to face the crowd in a hover. This is, again, another excellent opportunity for screenshots. Well, better close that cargo door. Don't want it to be dragging along the ground. Look at that. The nose authority on that thing is just incredible. Fantastic capabilities on display, and pilot capabilities, not just the aircraft as well. Again, this aircraft is flown today by... My apologies, my notes just disappeared there for a second. Tom Keasley of the Virtual Royal Air Force. Fantastic display by Tom.
And with that, I would also, of course, love to thank the rest of the Virtual Royal Air Force who have been flying with us today with the great displays that we've seen so far.
Alright, as the Chinook comes in for his final performance here, Tom is going to be demonstrating the operational confined landing site departure. In a tight situation where you've got enemy AAA and missiles around an airport, you need to get out as quickly as possible, as stealthily as possible. This is what he's just demonstrating for you now. Once again, folks, these aircraft are flown in. The RAF keeps a track of where all their aircraft are and manually flies them over to sites, which is insane to think about. The time and everything goes into it. From my conversations with them about bringing aircraft over, they even simulate maintenance hours and everything. It's just really incredible what these guys are able to do.
So Josh, is that correct? Are you telling me that the Virtual Royal Air Force have flown this plane over from their base in the UK all the way to Abbotsford for the show today?
Well, I'm not too sure about the Chinook. That might have been brought over in the C-17. However, I do know that the C-17 and the Eurofighter Typhoon were flown all the way from their bases in the UK. How many ever hours that is? I think like 10 or 11 hours all the way just to perform for you here today.
That must be one hell of a flight. Please, I know we can't hear you, but give them a round of applause for the great hours that they put into performing the show for us today.
Watch as the Chinook completes his performance with a spot landing right past the numbers. Right where he started off. Incredible.
And that's the magnificence of helicopters, isn't it here, Josh? That they are able to go where no plane has gone before.
Indeed, perfect exit. Right back to parking, basically. That's one of the huge advantages of helicopters. Again, a huge shout out and a big thank you to Tom, as well as the rest of the virtual Royal Air Force for their performances today.
With the Virtual Royal Air Force leaving the stage for us today, can you give us a slight preview of what we still have left for the rest of the night?
Well, you better believe I can. Up next, we have the Virtual Royal New Zealand Air Force, flown all the way from New Zealand. That's where the New Zealand Air Force comes from. Yeah, so they're flown all the way from New Zealand. And ladies and gentlemen, we're just going to hold the demonstration here. We've just got a small model matching issue. We will be right back. Okay, for any of the folks on the ground having issues with the DMR files, which it looks like there's a small issue there. So anyone who is looking for model matching that's not lining up correctly, especially with our Microsoft Flight Simulator users, you need to go into your VMR file, open it up with a text editor, and find the call signs Thunder, Tango Hotel, November, Uniform Delta Romeo, and then just replace delete the uniform out of that call sign there. And reload the model matching. You don't have to restart the sim, just reload your model matching and it should work correctly. Alright folks, just our helicam and other camera crews just making a small adjustment. We just had a slight change in call sign, which was actually an oversight. Actually on my part there, so I apologize for that, folks, but we should be ready to go here very shortly here. Alright folks, the Thunder display was one of the fan favorites from last year. It's our only demonstration this year that includes 2 aircraft. So just to give you an overview of what you're going to see, we're going to have our Boeing 757-200 piloted by Xavier Gibbons, the virtual Air Marshal of the Royal New Zealand Air Force. We'll be taking off in conjunction with Connor Summer, virtual pilot officer, again, virtual Royal New Zealand Air Force. And they will be performing some formation maneuvers before departing formation and back for some solo maneuvers and then formation. So exciting. We'll hope to get underway very shortly here. Yeah, I got a couple of questions in the chat here. I think someone's looking about P3 and a P8. No, it's P3 and a 757, which the New Zealand Air Force uses in passenger and cargo operations. And to the person noting about the Thunderbirds, we 100% need to have the Thunderbirds maybe next year. We'll have to stay tuned for that. Air Force uses in passenger. All right, folks, looks like they have just been given the takeoff clearance. And there goes our 757.
Of course, with a regular formation takeoff, we'd be moving in parallel, but due to the size of these aircraft and, of course, their great wake turbulence and jet blast, we will be seeing the 757 depart at first with a very nose-high climb out.
Again, combat climbouts like that are very common and often practiced within air forces around the world. As we've already mentioned, this helps evade various detections from both enemy radars as well as corrections, as well as AAA fire and other things when operating in a hostile environment. As you see, the P3 follows suit with the combat takeoff. Now, folks, these planes will need a minute to regroup just due to their size and re-enter the Airshow airspace. So sit tight with us and enjoy the stream. At least we won't have model matching popping issues today, just because, well, they are huge planes, so easy enough to stay in focus. And once again, if anyone is having a model matching issues live on Baptist, go into your VMR file and remove the U from Thunder under the call signs. That should fix it. And chat here asking about, hope they're staying in the box. Yes, the Royal New Zealand Air Force has an expanded box, again, just due to the aircraft size, but they will be staying within their designated aerobatic boxes.
And knowing the regular airspace that's been provided today, I would find it highly worrying if they were able to keep it within the regular 9 nautical mile area.
Yeah, it's quite a generous airspace provided today by the Vancouver FIR. George is doing a great job keeping other traffic clear and moving them around. So for anyone wondering, it's a 6 nautical mile ring and 18,000 feet vertical. Flight level 180 is what it goes up to, although I think the highest that we need for today is only 10,000 feet, but still rather large box, so they should have no problems. Affirmative, 12. Sorry,
yes,
my apologies.
The standard box is indeed 12 nautical mile, which is a great area, but it's also, of course, needed with these types of airplanes.
We can see the P3 has formed up on the 757. Let's keep an eye out as they make their first run-in. For such big aircraft, this formation you're seeing is rather incredible. Holding a tight formation like this is rarely used apart from obviously military operations and things like air refueling and whatnot for these larger aircraft. And of course for air shows, eh?
That's for sure, Josh. That's definitely for sure. And some of us have probably seen some smaller airplanes flying in such a formation. But remember, those do not have the issues of the wake turbulence and jet blast caused by the big turbofan engines that are attached to the 757 in front.
Listen that ain't working. That's the way you do it. You play the guitar on the MTV. That ain't working. That's the way you do it. Money for nothing and your chicks for free. Money for nothing. Chicks for free. Money for nothing. And your chicks for free.
Formation flying like that is really quite the art form, folks. It takes tens, if not hundreds, or thousands of hours of practice to get formation that tight.
Chicks for free. All that money for nothing. Chicks for free. Money for nothing. Chicks for free. Look at that, look at that.
And of course, we have to remember with such big airplanes, it does take a while, unfortunately, to set up for these passes. So they're flying a big downwind turn to set up for the runway centerline for the low pass that's currently incoming.
That ain't working.
I would still like to be thankful this is the virtual Royal New Zealand Air Force flight and not the regular Air New Zealand, because honestly, personally, I would not be enjoying the maneuvers they are currently doing in that 757 if I was in the rear of that airplane.
Folks, there you see the brake, the overhead brake. That is quite awesome. Love to see it. Getting timing just right on that is always a challenge, and they nailed it that time. Man, don't you wish you had a replay tool? I guess that's what Oops on Twitch are for, eh?
That's for sure. And for the best replays, we can, of course, always make a nice clip.
Yeah, that's true. All right, folks, as they break off, we now get to take a look at some of the solo performances as they make a few passes each on their own. First one coming in, I believe, if I have my notes correctly, is going to be our P3K2. And question from the chat, will the recording be safe to watch back? Indeed, it will. We will be letting you know if it gets taken off of Twitch, we'll be reposting it over at YouTube, which typically is a little bit more forgiving with some of the copyright information. But we'll definitely have a replay available.
And of course, we have to remember the video on demand will be available on Twitch for at least the next coming 2 weeks.
All right, folks, here comes the P3 for the high-speed fly pass, and if that's him transmitted it, you would see the bomb bay doors are open as well, but I guess you got to join the New Zealand Air Force to get that experience, eh?
That sounds like a great plan for sure, and I think you will be speaking with Xavier Gibbons later, who is currently off screen in the 757s prepping for his solo display.
Indeed. Now that's his, again, Connor in the P3. That last pass was flown at an altitude of about 1,000 feet. However, hold on to your hats here. He's going to make his next pass at just 70 feet above the ground. We had mentioned about the Chinook performing at low altitudes and said you can't do it in an airplane. Well, Connor might just prove us wrong.
That's the way you do it. Money for nothing and your chicks for free. Now that ain't working. That's the way you do it. Let me tell you, damn guy.
So some information about the P3. The P3 is actually, as you can tell, an anti-submarine, or maybe you can't tell, it's hard to say, but it's an anti-submarine maritime surveillance aircraft. It was initially introduced in the 1960s and is still in service today. And you know, a fun fact, 757 P3s have been built. That's quite the coincidence, isn't it? All right, here comes Connor for the low approach. And there's the overshoot as he completes his low approach. That was incredible, honestly. And barely hold my 152 sometimes steady in a low approach like that, and he's doing that in a 4-engine turboprop aircraft. Hats off to him.
But that's the best way of showing the great skill all the well-trained pilots have for us today. All right, now let's watch as Connor sets up for his slow pass with the back doors open. The stall speed of a P3 Orion is only 112 knots. You can basically keep up with him at a 172 at that speed. But hey, that's important when chasing down a submarine, moving at 5 knots and sticking around in a combat zone for as long as possible to provide accurate maritime surveillance to allied and friendly ships alike.
Listen here, now, that ain't working. That's the way you do it. You play the guitar on the MTV. That ain't working. That's the way you do it. Money for nothing and your chicks for free. Money for nothing. Chicks for free.
And you know, the P3 is yet another aircraft that, while designed for military purposes, is actually owned by civilian operators, including Buffalo Airways in the United States, the NOAA for gathering weather and environmental data, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, Department of Homeland Security, and others.
To be pedantic, Josh, we gotta say, only one of those operators you've mentioned before are really private, aren't they now?
Yeah, you got a good point there, but still, it's another surprising fact, and many people may not know.
That's for sure. So you're right on that one.
One of the most distinguishable features about the P3 Orion is its tail boom, or it's often called the MAD boom. It stands for Magnetic Anomaly Detection, and that's used for finding submarines. Even when you can't see them, you should be able to pick them up if they're close to the surface of the water. As he completes his slow pass, he'll now set up for his high-speed pass. The top speed of the P3 Orion is 411 knots, which is comparable to some of the very fastest propeller fighters, and even some of the slower high bypass turbofan jets, such as the A-10 or the S3 Viking.
It's the moment. Here we go. It's about time that we set it off. Here we go. Red lights, I could never stop. A dreamer with the fever to be great was all I ever want, was all I ever wanted. A fighter with the fever for the fame was all I ever want, was all I ever wanted. Got me singing like bang, 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 bang. This fire's a weapon. Bang, 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 bang. Won't stop till we're legends.
There you go, folks, the high-speed pass. Now watch as he accelerates and climbs up to 5,000 feet in just a matter of a few seconds. Again, incredible performance by that aircraft. Throw a gun on it, and you'd have basically another A-10 with propellers.
Make history.
Too bad no one thought of that, eh?
When I'm gone, they'll remember me.
Maybe I should pitch that to Lockheed executives. Well, folks, that concludes the P3 demo, I believe. My apologies, Josh. Go ahead.
Heard it here first, folks. Josh going to be running for Lockheed Martin job with these great ideas sooner rather than later.
Maybe. All right, folks, here comes the 757. As you can see, he's, correction, my apologies. Xavier Gibbons is piloting that again. He is in the full landing configuration, and we'll do a low approach at around 50 feet and then execute a go-around. During the go-around, he will bank 60 degrees to enter for his next pass.
Till all my scars bleed golden, my name's forever known. Blood, sweat, I'll break my bones.
There's the go-around. Watch that incredible climb and bank at the same time, really pushing his aircraft to its limits.
That was one hell of a go around, I gotta admit.
Bang, bang, won't stop till we're legends.
Can't argue with that.
So now banking already to come back for the second pass. Still in the landing configuration, but seems to be cleaning up quite well.
So what separates this aircraft from a regular 757? Well, it was modified in about 2007. It was fitted with an upper cargo deck to facilitate an 11 pallet cargo capability, strengthened floor, able to carry large and heavy cargo, internal stairs, upgraded engines, flight deck enhancements, and various other GPS and other avionics improvements that have really allowed the 757 to succeed in its role with the New Zealand Air Force in their airlift and carrying personnel and cargo around the world. Alright folks, and now watch us another extreme bank angle there. What an incredible show of pilot airmanship. As he comes in for his clean high-speed pass. Oh man, can you imagine sitting in the back of that aircraft?
That must be a hell of an experience, Josh. Something I would only like to experience once in my life at maximum.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you on that.
Sounds like a one and done type deal to me, but for the pilots flying right now, it's something they practice almost every day leading up to this event.
You better believe it. Coming up next, we have one final high-speed pass, 300 knots. And then climb out again to 5,000 feet, much like the P3. Let's see how Xavier manages to fare with this. I think we gotta rate the better climb out. What do you think?
Sure. Everyone looking, you've seen the P3 You've just seen the P3 depart just now. Everyone in chat and wherever you can, I would love to hear what you thought was the better climb out. Now at quite a distance and such an angle of bank, you'd love to see it. The plane coming in for its high-speed pass. And of course, with a turn at these speeds, the turn radius must increase by at least twice, causing these planes.
Right down the center line of the runway. Look at that, the shadow right in the middle. That's awesome. Folks, don't forget, this performance is being put on with live weather, so these pilots are adapting and changing their performances as necessary to adapt to cloud ceilings and whatnot in the area. Unfortunately, bad weather is moving into the area, but it held off just long enough today for us to get our displays out. And what a performance by Xavier there in his 757. And Connor too in the P3. That's incredible, guys. Really awesome. You love to see it. Ladies and gentlemen, just give you an update on the schedule here. We are running about 10 minutes behind, so hopefully we won't keep in anybody too long, but we encourage you to stick around if you can. And we got one more exciting performance coming up for you. After the P3 and the Orion land here, let's watch their landing, but it'll be an A4 coming up next, an A4 Skyhawk. Quite the aircraft.
Trying to smoke with the yak in your mouth. And we back outside. You said you outside, but you ain't that. Got how we act outside. Motivation. I'm found me a new foundation. Yeah. Foundation. Checking my new salvation. I'ma build my own love ain't yours, can't break my soul. Trying to fake it never makes it, that we all know. Can't break my soul. Have the stress and I'll take less, I'll justify love. We go round in circles, searching for love. We go on.
And of course, the magic of that sim right now is that during our display, we're Thunder 1 and 2 currently flying in the area of Abbotsford. More than 1,300 other pilots are flying all over the world right now, and the velocity servers are holding up just as they should, giving us these clean formation displays.
And folks, we've got one more display coming at, or one more pass coming at you. Formation low pass, and then they will be coming around for a full stop landing. Folks, very generously here at the New Zealand Air Force, we were a little bit short on performance this year due to various issues, as you can see in our Discord illnesses and whatnot. So, New Zealand Air Force was kind enough to send out and look at this break here. I just got to stop talking for a minute here and just shut up and watch this. All right, folks, as the overhead brake is finishing up and they come in for landing, as I was saying, again, the New Zealand Air Force very generously sending over an A4 last minute, but that doesn't degrade the performance. The pilot is actually going to be Xavier Gibbons again. He's currently in 757, so he will be landing, taxiing back in, shutting down. So we will have about a 5-minute break here between the 757 landing and the A4 taxiing out. But stick around, because it's a display you will not want to miss. Looking at this routine here, oh man, is it ever going to be fun?
It's definitely going to be a fun final experience for us tonight, especially because it's flown by a Virtual Air Marshal, Xavier Gibbons, who has been with the Virtual Royal New Zealand Air Force for over 2 years now, commanding multiple squadrons. But I think we're going to be hearing more about that after the end of the show with the final interview. And that's all 77 on the rollout, whilst the PT is coming back in for its landing as well.
Fantastic landings there, guys. Really well done to the Virtual Royal New Zealand Air Force.
There's a moment in your bones when the fire takes over. Blood is running, heart is pumping as the battle gets closer. They can say what they want now, 'cause we'll be screaming out, we can be heroes everywhere we go.
Well, folks, while they taxi in and get ready for their next performance here, it's the A4. Let's talk about the A4. It's really quite the aircraft, actually, especially within the New Zealand Air Force. Sorry, Jerome, I think I stepped over you there. Go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. Then in that case, Josh, give us some details on the Air Combat Group flown, I think registered in New Zealand by the Air Force, the A4 Skyhawk.
Yeah, so the A4 Skyhawk was actually originally developed back in the early 1950s. So it was designed in that era for that era, and was just continually adapted. And it's been like nearly 7 decades since the aircraft's first flight in 1954, I believe. About nearly 3,000 aircraft were produced, and some actually still remain in service, believe it or not, with the Argentine Air Force in Brazil. Aircraft truly was a multi-role aircraft. Well, maybe not so much air-to-air, but definitely an air-to-ground and closer support aircraft. Carried 5 hardpoints that could carry various missiles, bombs, and other munitions. Saw extensive, obviously extensive combat throughout the Vietnam War and the Yom Kippur War, as well as in the Falklands War with the Argentine Air Force. Interestingly enough, 10 A4s were sent to New Zealand in 1970, and they're the only country that operates, redesignated their A4s as the A4 Kilo model. Basically, this model had a number of upgrades, I should say, including radar, new avionics, and various other things that aim to extend the lifespan of the aircraft. And this really allowed the aircraft to perform well, and like the radar and whatnot that was installed ended up being pretty on par for like early blocks of F-16s and whatnot even. So for an aircraft designed just 10 years after World War II, this is quite the feat of engineering.
That's a feat of engineering for sure, Josh. But as we all remember, all of aviation is, and remember in just about, what is it, 100-something years ago, the Wright brothers were able to just barely get by flying, and now we're having these wonderful airplanes doing these great maneuvers. Honestly, if the Wright brothers were still here today, I think they'd be amazed with what we're able to pull off.
Yeah, it's insane how fast technology has developed and improved and just everything. It's nuts. All right, I believe our A4 is now taxiing out for his departure. This is going to be a fun one.
This is going to be a fun flight for sure, with the nice and compact airplane readying up just for its departure right now. So as you can see right now, we got the helicopter following our plane right until the area, so it will be ready for departure, with our helicopter being controlled by our media team, with operations and instructions given by the great air traffic controllers that have joined us today.
Indeed. And I gotta say, Project Kahu was, I forgot to mention this, but the Kilo stands for Kahu, which is the Maori language name for the New Zealand swamp harrier, fun fact. fact that Kahoo name has inspired the call sign today. This call sign for Royal Air Marshal Xavier Gibbons is Kahoo 6209.
Picking the pieces up and building to the sky. My patience is waning as this
Other upgrades that were given to the A4 Skyhawk with the Project Kahoo upgrades included 0 lifted wings, new spars, and really a whole new structural refurbishment. And if you look at some of the old A4s, you see just the legacy glass cockpits. While those may have been fun to fly, eventually their efficiency degraded. The Kahoo added 2 MFDs, electronic MFDs, to the cockpit of the A4. And again, that just really brought up its capabilities to be on par with many aircraft in the early 1980s. So you may be wondering about the Skyhawk's current service with the Royal New Zealand Air Force. Well, unfortunately, they withdrew Skyhawks from service in 2001, and in 2012, I believe, they sold off 8 of their 4 Skyhawks, and the rest are at museums currently. But that doesn't stop us here on VATSIM from just going out of our way to bring back some old relics. I think we have some interesting aircraft even on static display, such as Concords and whatnot. So really fascinating what simulators allow us to do these days, eh?
That's for sure, Josh. And with the Skyhawk ready on the runway for its departure, we're waiting for the final details until David Gibbons will be allowed to depart for his final display of the evening.
All right, folks.
And we are off. The Skyhawk is rolling for the great final routine that we will be able to see tonight. And everyone in the crowd right now, make sure to wear your air protection because the Skyhawk will be departing for a pass from somewhere you haven't seen before. So make sure to not only check in the box in front of you, but make sure the area behind you is clear as well.
Once again, another combat takeoff with the extreme climb out with the bunt over. Man, those from high G's to negative G's. I don't know if I could do that as a pilot.
I know for sure I couldn't. I'd love to do a bit of aerobatics flying later in my life, but unfortunately I don't think it's right for me right now. And especially the 6 to 10 Gs that they pull regularly during performances like this.
Folks, the Skyhawk has a top speed of almost 670 miles an hour. For those of you who prefer in kilometers an hour, that's almost 1,100 kilometers an hour. Xavier Gibbons is now going to demonstrate that with a sneak pass from behind the crowd at maximum, well, not maximum speed, but very close to maximum speed. And then executes a perfect climb out, pulling all kinds of G's. Now, folks, remember, this aircraft doesn't have fly-by-wire, so unlike an F-16 or F-18, every input has the potential to break the aircraft, snap the wings off if you're not careful with it. And, of course, there's nothing to... fighter aircraft in general are relatively unstable, so, again, you thought the 757 was impressive. Man, this is even better.
I mean, Josh, to be fair, every single performance today has a different spec of the great pieces of aviation, because even though this plane is directly controlled by the pilot and as such has the ability to overstress and consider the airplane, the 757 is just a piece of its own, as is the helicopter and as is all the other aircraft we've seen today.
Oh yeah, you better believe it. There's incredible skill and preparation time that goes into perfecting these displays and just learning the aircraft in general, really.
That's for sure.
All right, folks, watch as Xavier now rolls in for his presentation pass from the crowd right. Get your screenshots ready. Here comes Xavier again for the Max G performance with a 360-degree turn. This is going to be quite something. 7 Gs within plus minus 1 G. Man, I do not want to be doing that. My apologies. Actually, it looks like he's gone into the 30 pass here, which is quite something else. You see a little bit of wobble there with fly-by-wire. Or maybe it's a wing wave. Wave back. Fly-by-wire aircraft would never let you make quick inputs like that. That's quite something there from Xavier. Impressive.
I mean, let's be pedantic here. They'd give you the ability to make the aircraft. They'd just tell you who's through our fan. Wouldn't even execute the commands you've given it.
All right, I believe Xavier is now setting up for the slow pass. While high-speed performance is obviously critical in intercepting aircraft and chasing down the enemy, slow-speed pass is just as important, especially when conducting close air support missions or in dogfights. Staying behind your enemy's tail in the control zone is the name of the game. Watch for him to have full flaps down for the slow speed pass. Just 100 knots. Again, you could race him in a 172 and probably win at this speed.
You'd win if you'd have a couple extra knots to fill win, Josh. Let's not be too overconfident.
Yeah, you got a point there. And as he climbs out, he goes into maximum power, showing the thrust-to-weight ratio of the A4 Skyhawk, really showing you what that aircraft can do. Even with gear and flaps extended, still able to put him into a muscle climb and climb out. Alright folks, here we come for the final display pass, 400 to 500 knots. Man, that's going to be quite something. That's approaching the speed of sound. And then he'll climb vertically. Sorry, my apologies, Sharon. Go ahead.
Yes, excuse me. Make sure you watch your ears with the 400 to 500 knots coming in at full afterburner. Unfortunately, it isn't fully simulated on the network, but make sure to imagine the loud roaring of an afterburner propelling this plane almost to the speed of sound. And with it coming in, as Josh was about to say, excuse me for interrupting, but with the pass happening right now, he will be doing a full vertical climb to 9,000 feet to exit the box and display.
We come from different places, but have the same name. Cause we were born for
So at the end of the runway, just before the hazard, he is pulling vertical and going all the way up to make sure he gets out of reach of all those pesky surface-to-air missiles that would have been installed in any hostile areas that this aircraft would have been active in.
Better believe it. Fortunately, there's no missiles around here that I know of. But still gives you an idea of just the incredible performance of the aircraft. Alright folks, well, Xavier is now going to be bringing his A4 Kahoo Skyhawk back in for a landing. Stay tuned though, we are not done yet. There will be an interview with Xavier after he lands, and we're going to talk to him a little bit about the Royal New Zealand Air Force, virtual Royal New Zealand Air Force, excuse me, as well as his experience, and we'll have a fun question for him too at the end.
That's for sure, Josh, and I'd like to thank everyone that's been watching already today for being with us on this second occasion of this event. And again, if you're interested in doing something like this yourself, you should definitely get in touch with the Virtual Royal Air Force or the Virtual Royal New Zealand Air Force.
Among other VSOAs, of course. They're not the only ones out there. We encourage you to go take a look at everyone else.
We encourage you to take a look, but if you want to be sure, you could probably be on the stage here next year if you start practicing right now.
You never know. It's never too late to start.
Exactly.
And before we close as well, we'd like to just thank a few people here. We've got a couple sponsors for us today who have really helped us with getting the word of the event out and publishing spectator briefings and all that cool stuff and flying in. So yeah, special thanks to the Pilot Club Virtual Airline. Be sure to check them out. They have been huge and helped us out with static displays, flying aircraft, everything. That's been awesome. I want to shout Virtual as well for their support of our event. We'd also like to thank VATSIM for allowing us to put on this incredible event for you all. We appreciate their support of the event. And of course, for the supervisors, the team of supervisors we had standing by, you never know when someone decides that best fun that they can have is ruining others' fun. But fortunately, it was pretty good today. So thank you to the supervisor team standing by and being willing to help out. And thank you to the static display pilots who flew in today and parked their planes on the runway for your static display viewing enjoyment. Also, the media team has been absolutely fantastic. We shouted them out multiple times today. But yeah, Adam, Noah, the rest of the media team, you guys have been absolutely stellar with helping us to prepare for and execute this event. We couldn't have done it without you guys. And last but not least, of course, we have our air traffic controllers from the Vancouver FIR have done a stellar job today providing services for the Airshow. Well, we hope to see you all back next year. But again, stick around. There is more. We're going to be interviewing Xavier Gibbons. Just flew the A4 Skyhawk as well as 757. And then, of course, don't forget about the flyout. You parked your plane here. You got to take it home somehow. So there'll be a flyout running. It'll probably be running for another hour here, maybe just under an hour. Presented again by the Vancouver Virtual FIR. So huge shout out, thank you everyone, and we will have more for you here shortly with the interview with Xavier. Say you're easy, you're always riding in the backseat. Now I'm smiling from the stage while you were clapping in the nosebleeds. Thunder, 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 feel the thunder, lightning and the thunder, thunder, feel the thunder. Lightning and the thunder, thunder. And a special thanks again to our amazing helicopter pilot, Noah, who's currently doing these amazing flyovers that I normally only expect, honestly, from an FOV drone. But as you can see, even with such a big helicopter, everything is possible. Apparently VATSIM's down and can't file a flight plan. I'm sure the air traffic controllers will be able to help you out with that, especially for VFR. They should be available to fill out VFR flight plans for you guys. Alright folks, just in case anyone's just joining, the Airshow, the event itself is almost over, but we still have one more interview to go. If you want to find out a little bit more about the virtual Royal New Zealand Air Force, that will be there shortly. Okay, and I believe Xavier Gibbons is just about ready. We're just going to invite him up to the stage.
Good morning, guys, or whatever time it is here.
Yeah, it's early afternoon Pacific. I guess it's morning for you, eh?
It is early morning.
How early did you get up to have to fly this? Brief us and fly this.
About 7 a.m., but that's okay.
Okay, that's commitment for a Saturday. For me.
Oh, it's Sunday for
Or
us.
Sunday, I guess, for you guys.
Sunday,
Yeah, your
exactly.
day ahead. Yeah. That always throws me off. But yeah, thanks for joining us today. Again, this is Xavier Gibbons, virtual Air Marshal, if I have that right, of the virtual Royal New Zealand Air Force.
That's correct.
Perfect. So yeah, why don't you tell us kind of a little bit about how long you've been flying simulators and how long you've been with the virtual Royal New Zealand Air Force?
So I've been flying simulators for about 6 or so years now, but joined the VR and ZDF about a year ago, and then took it over and brought it up to the VSOA level that it is today, with some help from a few other people, of course. So overall, probably about a year in the VSOA industry, but before that I was sort of meddling in some other DCS airlines, I guess you could call them, and other things like that. But overall, VSOA, about a year now.
That's awesome, and I guess you kind of answered it, but what kind of got you into VSOAs on VATS and then whatnot?
I originally was looking at a few sort of South Pacific VSOAs. Mainly there was only the one, the RAF Virtual. And I thought, well, considering there's only one, I mean, we have a pretty good chance of doing it, and it'd be great to be able to fly a military aircraft unrestricted on the VATSIM network. So I started it up, and then, yeah, brought it up to the level, and here we are today.
Absolutely. Those were some really incredible performances from you and Connor. That was really great. How long did it take you guys to prepare all that?
So it took us a couple months, but it's taken us quite a few months. We originally did our Warbirds over Wanaka virtual air show in New Zealand a few months ago, and we had it planned for that, but didn't end up doing the display in the end. But we've sort of had it in the back for a while, and it's roughly the same as last year's virtual air show, if you recall that.
I do, yeah. That was it's just as good, if not better than last year.
That's what we try to aim for.
Yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, let's. If anyone wanted to kind of find out a little bit more about the Royal New Zealand Air Force and what you guys do with day-to-day operations and whatnot, where would they go to find that information?
Yep, so you can go to our website. It's virtualrnzaf.com, and on there you'll be able to find all the information about us, and if you wanted to join, there's a little application sheet as well.
That is awesome. So before I let you go, I did the same thing to Scott earlier, so I got to do this to you as well. A fun question to end this. We'll do a different one, actually. If you could add any aircraft to the fleet, because we know that the last aircraft you performed in, the Skyhawk, has now been retired. So if you could add any aircraft to the Royal New Zealand Air Force fleet, what would it be?
I personally would like to see the integration of a combat wing, so F-35s or F-18s or whatever we can get our hands on, so any sort of a strike aircraft would I'd love to see incorporated in our ZDF day-to-day operations.
Totally, that's awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for your performances today. We really appreciate it, and you guys killed it. We hope to see you back next year.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely be back next year. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, no problem. All right, folks, that will conclude the Airshow event. Again, we thank you for sticking around to the end and for your support of the Abbotsford Virtual Airshow. We hope to see you again next year. Again, this is an annual event, so probably around the same time next year. Information will be published in our Discord as we get closer to the event date. But again, thanks, folks, from the announcer booth. So long.
Thank you very much for having me on today, Josh, and I'd like to hope everyone who's been here today will be back next year for the 3rd annual Abbotsford Virtual Air Show.
Indeed. We'll see you guys.